Melody also made it clear that she did not want her content screen recorded or shared without consent, which frustrated some viewers who were used to freely discussing her content online. The situation also connects to her ongoing history with Martell Holt, as she has hinted that issues from that relationship are still not completely resolved. Because of this, her decision to speak openly on a platform she controls has led people to wonder what additional information might come out and how it could affect others involved. Overall, this situation reflects a larger shift in storytelling, where Melody is moving away from a shared, edited narrative and stepping into a space where she controls her own story. Fans also play a major role in this, as modern audiences not only watch but actively react and influence conversations, and while some criticism focused on pricing or exclusivity, the intensity of reaction suggested deeper underlying tensions. Despite the backlash, Melody responded calmly, confirming that her Patreon was reviewed and cleared and continuing her work without hesitation. This showed confidence and preparation for resistance, as well as a clear understanding of the environment she is operating in. The situation also highlights a common reality in television storytelling, where audiences only see a portion of what actually happens behind the scenes. When someone from that world begins speaking independently, it can change how past events are interpreted. Her Patreon now serves as a space where she can fill in those gaps and share her perspective directly, which may confirm some beliefs, while challenging others. At the same time, it raises the issue of control, as some view the reporting of her platform as an attempt to regain influence over her narrative. Even so, she has continued moving forward, showing resilience, focus, and determination to keep building her platform. As this situation continues, discussions around it are likely to grow, but at its core, it represents a shift in power where an individual takes ownership of their own story, and as Melody continues to develop her platform, the conversation surrounding her will continue to evolve. As the situation continues to develop, it becomes clear that the conversation is no longer just about a single incident or a temporary controversy. Instead, it is about how public figures manage their own narratives in a digital space where audiences are constantly watching, reacting, and reshaping discussions in real time. Melody's decision to continue building her Patreon despite the reporting and review process shows that she is focused on long-term goals rather than short-term disruptions. Rather than stepping back or changing direction, she has chosen to stay consistent, which signals confidence in her platform and in the message she wants to share. At the same time, the reaction from the audience highlights how quickly public opinion can shift when new information or perspectives are introduced. Some viewers feel more connected to her because she is speaking more openly and directly, while others remain skeptical about the exclusivity of her content or the direction she is taking. This division is common when a public figure begins to separate their personal storytelling from traditional media structures, especially in reality television spaces where audiences are used to a shared, edited version of events. There is also a growing awareness of how much power platforms like Patreon give to creators. Unlike traditional social media, these spaces allow for more control over access, meaning audiences engage on different terms. This shift changes the relationship between creator and viewer, turning it into something more direct but also more selective. For some supporters, this feels empowering because it gives the creator independence. For others, it feels limiting because access is no longer fully open. In the background of all of this, ongoing personal history and unresolved tensions from past relationships continue to shape how people interpret every new development. Even when not directly addressed, these connections influence how audiences read between the lines and form conclusions. This adds another layer of complexity to an already sensitive situation, where personal life and public perception are deeply intertwined. Still, what stands out most is the consistency in Melody's approach. Instead of reacting emotionally to setbacks, she continues to move forward, focusing on building her own space and controlling how her story is told. That steady approach reinforces the idea that this is not just a reaction to current events, but part of a larger shift in how she wants to operate going forward. As time goes on, The conversation will likely keep expanding, not just around what happened, but around what it represents in terms of independence, narrative control, and the evolving relationship between public figures and their audiences. Looking ahead, this kind of shift in how public figures share their stories is likely to become even more common. More creators are moving away from fully public platforms and choosing subscription-based spaces where they can control who sees their content and how it is shared. This changes the balance between celebrities and audiences because access is no longer automatic, it is earned or paid for, and that naturally creates stronger boundaries around personal storytelling. In Melody's case, that boundary has become a central point of discussion. Supporters see it as a way for her to protect her voice and stop her content from being taken or misrepresented. Critics, however, see it as a restriction that limits open conversation. This difference in perspective is part of what makes the situation so widely discussed, because it touches on larger questions about ownership, privacy, and the right to control personal narratives in the digital age. At the same time, the emotional intensity surrounding her story shows how deeply audiences can connect to reality television personalities over time. When viewers follow someone for years, they often feel invested in every development, even outside the show itself. That level of attachment can make any change in access or communication feel personal, which helps explain why reactions to her Patreon have been so strong compared to similar situations involving other creators. Another important factor is how quickly online discussions can escalate. In today's digital environment, a single report, rumor, or claim can spread rapidly and turn into a larger debate before all the facts are fully understood. This creates an environment where perception often becomes just as important as reality, and where creators like Melody have to respond carefully in order to maintain trust with their audience. Even with these challenges, Melody's continued consistency suggests that she is committed to building something long-term rather than reacting to short-term pressure. By maintaining her presence and continuing to share content, she reinforces the idea that her platform is not temporary or experimental, but part of a broader direction in her career and personal branding. Ultimately, this ongoing situation reflects a larger cultural shift in entertainment and media. Storytelling is no longer controlled only by networks or production teams. Instead, individuals now have the ability to shape their own narratives directly, while audiences simultaneously have more access, more opinions, and more influence than ever before. The result is a constantly evolving space where control, interpretation, and engagement are all being redefined at the same time. As this continues, the focus will likely move even further away from the initial controversy and more toward what this model of storytelling means for the future. In that sense, Melody's situation is not just about one platform or one moment, but about a changing system where personal voice, audience reaction, and digital independence all intersect in increasingly complex ways. As this continues to unfold, it also highlights how fragile the line has become between public access and private control in modern media. Creators today are constantly balancing the desire to share their lives with the need to protect their work and personal boundaries. In Melody's case, that balance has become more visible because her audience is used to a certain level of openness from reality television, where much of a person's life is already on display. Moving into a more controlled, subscription-based space naturally changes that expectation, and not everyone adjusts to that shift in the same way. At the same time, the growing discussion around her Patreon reflects how quickly narratives can form around a single event, even when full details are not widely known. Once a topic gains attention online, it often takes on a life of its own, shaped by assumptions, interpretations, and fragmented information. This can make it difficult to separate fact from speculation, especially when emotions are involved and audiences feel personally connected to the individuals they are watching. Despite this, Melody's approach continues to suggest that she is prioritizing independence over approval. By maintaining her platform and continuing to share content on her own terms, she is reinforcing a boundary that centers her control over her own story. That decision may not satisfy everyone, but it clearly reflects a long-term strategy rather than a reaction to short-term pressure or controversy. It is also worth noting that situations like this often become turning points in how audiences engage with creators. Some viewers choose to follow more closely and support the new direction, while others distance themselves if they feel excluded or disagree with the changes. This natural split is common whenever a public figure redefines how they communicate with their audience. Over time, the intensity of the current discussion